Yes, Pinky, go ahead.
Yes. So, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to today's panel discussion where we are going to understand accessibility through our very experienced panelists today. And we'll hear from them how to understand more about accessibility and what is accessibility and about the CAD event. So, let's get started. Before that, I would request our president for this is the time for the coloring for the president and I request president to call the meeting to the order.
Thank you, Pinky. I call the meeting to order.
Thank you, president. So I request now Kranti, our president, to welcome the entire event and the panelists and all of us present here. Over to you, Kranti.
Thank you so much, Pinky. I'd like to welcome one and all who are present here today. Firstly, all the panelists and the guests who are there today. This is the fourth year we are doing the GAD event continuously. We didn't want to leave it and we have done it online this time. I would like to welcome our panelist, Rotarian Justin, Rotarian Kameshwari, Rotarian Arun, and Miss Anjali, who will be there today to run the show. I'd like to welcome all the guests who are there here, all the Rotarians and all our RBA members who are there and, much waiting for the event to happen. And I'd also welcome all the people from all the other NGOs and all the public who have joined us today. A warm welcome to all of you, sir. Thank you so much. Over to you, Pinky.
Thank you very much, Kranti. So with that warm welcome, we'll begin our event for today. The first thing, we should understand what is GAD, right? So we should understand why are we here and what is it all about. So to brief about that, I would request RTN Nagraj sir to talk and let us understand more about GAD. So over to you, Nagraj sir.
Good evening, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Thank you. So welcome all of you once again to the GAD event today. So Global Accessibility Awareness Day, GAD, was first observed on May 9, 2012. It was founded by a group of web developers, accessibility professionals, and advocates who wanted to create a global design and global event which is focused on raising awareness about digital accessibility and physical accessibilities and promoting inclusivity for persons with disabilities. The founders of accessibility GAD was Joe Devon and Jenison Accenture, and they recognized the need for the advocacy of accessibility. That is, the dedicated day to draw the attention to do the importance of accessibility in technology and to encourage the individuals and organizations to make the digital physical accessibility and the contents which to be more accessible. They aimed to bring together people with different backgrounds and industries to share their knowledge, to discuss the best practices and to collaborate and improvement about the accessibility event since its inception. When you say GAD has been celebrated on the third Thursday of May month every year since 2012, and the day serves as a platform for the various activities, events, functions, workshops, seminars, and awareness campaigns that focuses on promoting the accessible technologies designed to encourage the individuals and organizations, universities, government and NGOs and civil society to participate and learn about the benefits and methods of making digital content to make all accessible users to be accessible. When you say I am working in bank is really accessible. It's a challenging for all of us. When you say according to World Bank, 1 billion people, that is 15% of the world's population, who are experiencing some form of the disability or the other, which is the prevalence of disability is growing due to the higher population, due to poverty and experiencing life disorders. And it is rising, especially the chronic disorders. Nowadays, a lot of middle blindness or middle disability is happening to many people, and lifestyle diseases where majority of them are confined to the homes due to the stigma, superstitions, and the lack of awareness and lack of accessibility is the major problem which we all face every day. So accessibility will give them to serve the dignity, respect, and the theme of this year 2023 accessibility is keeping technology accessible for everybody, and its contents of the technology should be reached to everybody, that is accessible, affordable, and available to everyone in the era. So when you say Rotary Bangalore Abilities, first we organized this event since its inception. In 2018, we had a accessibility from Google people. And after that, and at IIIT, Triple IT in Bangalore, we had accessibility and inclusiveness program. In 2019, we had a program called Seminar on Web Accessibility and the guidelines about accessibility. In 2020, when I was the president, we had the accessibility of buildings and infrastructure. So that was a memorable event. It became an international event. In 2021, we had a seminar on accessibility in public places and transportation. Even that was also an international. And last year and this year, and in 2022, we made accessibility about education, employment, media, especially so many areas we made accessibility. So it's a course of happiness and understanding of accessibility is the theme this year, so that we have to strive for global environment. Everybody should understand accessibility and implement accessibility in home, in workplace, in public places. For that, Rotary Bangalore Abilities made some achievements, such as sensitization program we conducted, and we made through Ramp My City, we made Kabban Park accessibility, and we made one Access Bank accessibility as a weapon in the Kormangla area, and we also made the equality and happiness life, that is TSMT, also was accessible. So that way, lot of places still we need to do access, and we need to work a lot everywhere. Everybody should come partnership and do justice to everybody by giving accessibility and inclusiveness. With that, I hope this seminar will go in a long way to bring a lot of practical solutions. Thank you, Pinky, for this opportunity, and everybody for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nagraj sir. Thanks a lot for that wonderful insight about GAD. And now we understand why are we here and what is the purpose of GAD event. And it's just one small effort from our end, from Rotary Bangalore Abilities, to to create awareness and spread the word across to everyone, that how it is important, how much it is important to each and every person, not only for person with disability. So let's see and understand more about the accessibility. We are talking more about accessibility, but let's see how it impacts each one of us. Even before starting that, it's my privilege to introduce all our speakers today, all our panelists today. So we have 4 panelists for today who will be helping us understanding accessibility. So I'll start with the introduction of the first panelist. So our first panelist is our dearest Justin Phillips. Justin is the Chartered President of Rotary Bangalore Abilities, the first differently able Rotary club serving the community. Justin is a Braille evangelist. He is well versed in all forms of English Braille. Through VisionAid, he teaches spoken English and Braille online. He teaches Braille online. He is also the editor for Insight, a quarterly Braille magazine published by Mitra Jyoti. He has trained people in use of Orbit refreshable Braille displays and iPhone. He was also part of Toastmasters International, a forum that trains people in communication and leadership. And in past, he has worked as a medical transcriptionist and also worked in Samarthanam Trust for the Disabled as a trainer. His hobbies includes reading, listening to podcasts, music, spirituality, and playing chess. With that, I welcome Justin Phillips for this event and thank him for accepting our request.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Justin. Now let me introduce you to our second panelist, Anjali Vyas. Anjali Vyas is a chemical engineer by qualification and English language trainer by profession. Anjali is also a disability research fellow. She is a person with an invisible disability, multiple sclerosis, that is abbreviated as MS, and has been advocating for the rights of the people with MS since 2018. She was awarded the title of India MS Person 2021 by MS Society of India and was also chosen as the ambassador of MS by the government of Goa at the Purple Fest 2023. She empowers persons with invisible disabilities in all the areas, especially in employment, to ensure that no one is left behind. With that noble thought, I welcome Anjali Vyas for today's event and I thank her for accepting our request. Welcome, Anjali.
So much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's time to introduce our third panelist, our third speaker, Kameshwari. Kameshwari is a dynamic professional with over 14 years of experience in service management, process improvement, project implementation, web and mobile accessibility. Kameshwari is a person with visual disability, currently working with Google as accessibility analyst. Her role involves accessibility review, audits, and ensure the final code launches are compliant as per the global accessibility standards. She imparts training to design, development, and testing teams to build an accessible product from the inception stage. She has delivered talks at internal and external events advocating the needs of accessibility and innovative solutions. Kameshwari has previously worked with IBM and Wipro Technologies in various competencies. In her leisure time, she can be found listening to audiobooks, teaching yoga, crocheting, and gardening. With that wonderful introduction, I would like to welcome our dearest Kameshwari for this panel discussion, and I thank her also for accepting our request. Thank you, Kameshwari. Okay, so let's see our fourth panelist, our fourth speaker for the day, Arun Mohan. Arun Mohan is a life wellness coach, apart from being a motivational speaker. He is a person with an invisible disability, MS. He has overcome his challenges and has motivated many people with MS to cope up their symptoms with confidence. Having coached many people and transformed their lives to bring them back to living life to the fullest. Arun comes with 25 plus years of corporate sales and business development experience. So with that wonderful introduction again, I welcome our fourth panelist, Arun Mohan, for today's event. Thank you, Arun, for accepting and being here with us. Okay, so now we have understood more about our panelists and we are curious to know what is accessibility now, right? So we all are talking from the beginning or these many days you might have heard accessibility, it should be accessible, please make it accessible, it is not accessible. So everywhere all these noise you are hearing, right? So let's try to understand through our panelists today, what do you mean by accessibility? So accessibility can be different to each one of us, right? So I would like to ask our first panelist, Arun Mohan. The term accessibility means different to different people. So Arun, according to you, what is accessibility?
Thank you.
Over
Pinky.
to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Pinky, for the introduction first of all.
and thank you for this opportunity to talk here. Uh, well, I didn't know what accessibility was till 10 years back. For me, accessibility was okay when a blind person would walk on the road and making it convenient for him without any uh, interference for his walk. That was accessibility for me. But in the last 10 years and being a part of the Rotary Bangalore abilities, I've understood what accessibility actually means. And during, when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, I had a unique problem, which is, that's how I was diagnosed with MS, which is called nystagmus, where my iris of my eyeball goes right and left. And you will not believe, during those days when I started working, when we used to go to the bank to deposit our salary checks, I couldn't write down my account number in boxes because for me, it was just two parallel lines. I wouldn't know there was a horizontal line till probably, I think 4 years back, till I found out that there is actually horizontal lines. So now what do you define accessibility as? Accessibility is your your you know your way of accessing information, you're accessing your environment, you're accessing your surrounding without any interruption in your daily walk of life. Now, when I talk about interruption, uh, today for a blind person, maybe the letter, they can't see the screen or they can't read. But when you talk about a person with low vision, they'll probably see some light, but they'll not be able to identify it. Now, if you look at a person with MS, the biggest issue that they face is, you can't balance yourself. They have gait issues, and for which they need to use a walking stick, or they might end up using a wheelchair. Now, when the roads that the wheelchair is going through is not accessible, then it becomes a problem for them. Accessibility also means that, any 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 method of by which life becomes easier from the daily routine is what accessibility means to me. I think more than probably how I could call it as saying that today you have like what Nagraj said, we have made ramps in a lot of places which are going to be accessible. Though they have ramps, the ramps are at different angles, which is not the accessibility criteria which needs to be followed. Now it can become life-threatening, dangerous for them to go through using that ramp. So for me, that is what accessibility is right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you very much. Yes, you rightly said accessibility is different for everyone because we all are unique and our requirements are different, our needs are different, our approach to things are different. So definitely, whatever you said, really we can relate to that. Thank you very much for that insight. Okay, so let's move on to our second question to our second panelist, Anjali. So Anjali Vyas, I would like to know what's your idea or opinion about digital accessibility? See, we spoke about accessibility. Now let's understand about only digital accessibility. What does it mean to you? Over to you, Anjali.
Right. Thank you for that important question, Chandana. I think firstly, of course, I want to describe myself here because we've got a lovely audience. My name is Anjali Vyas. My pronouns are she and her. I'm wearing a yellow top and black pants with my hair let loose, and I'm also wearing glass spectacles and have plugged in earphones as I talk. Um, See, digital accessibility is a different segment altogether. We heard Arun sir talking about what accessibility in general means. And he spoke about, the ease of life, how it makes our lives easy and convenient. And for me as well, when we say digital accessibility, that component means freedom. It means the convenience to be able to access any information which is available digitally out there on different online medium or platforms. Now, when I'm saying this, that I should be able to access this information, what do I really mean? I mean this information that I'm trying to say fetch or even to perform a particular task online or on digital media, it should be first identifiable. The very first step, even to be talking about digital media to be convenient, it should be identifiable. What do I mean by that? When I say identifiable, it should be easy for anyone to say, for instance, access a link, right? If I were to go to a particular website, how do I really kind of navigate and find that out? So it's as simple as, just having workable and working links, right? If I were to access any piece of information, and if I see that, alongside a particular link, there's also an information available in a particular format or a file, for instance, a PDF format. Now, this is an instance which I also want to share with all of you. I mean, because I'm also a research fellow in disability, I spend most of my time finding important information through government websites. Now, the funny part is, while there are workable links out there, while there are PDFs and otherwise notifications uploaded on their website, all of these are simply the scanned copies of those documents, which to me is not accessible, let alone, being that convenient or readable by a person with visual impairment. Even for me as an individual, it's not an easy job to access that particular document because it is not identifiable for me. It's not as easy for me to even fetch that information. The second important factor that makes digital accessibility or the ease to even access any information is for the information to be readable and understandable. What do I mean by that? I mean, when I have to say read a particular piece of information on, say, a particular website, are the fonts or the color contrast balanced enough? Can I even say from a particular distance from my screen still read that information? Is the information available in other language as well? Because there are many people who are not as comfortable with English, say, because they come from a Hindi belt. Is the information available in some other language as well? If so, then that particular piece for that person is accessibility, right? Because then we are making it convenient for the other person to read, to understand information. This is the basic right, I think. Access to information is also one of the basic human rights, I feel, because if I
Yes.
were to say make an appointment to for my medical diagnosis or any test for that matter, if I go to a particular website of that particular hospital, it should be even easily understandable. I mean, I don't want to see jargons everywhere. As it is, there are many discussions or pieces of information that we try and access through these portals have, high-end words and vocabulary available. But then even to understand that, it needs to be simple and understandable. When I say, again, for them to be navigable, for me to locate a particular piece of information, I have previously mentioned about the color contrast thing. Do you know that, there are certain colors that can trigger seizures in people with neurological conditions? I live with multiple sclerosis, right? And I know how bad it is for some people with MS. I get seizures, by the way. So too bright colors and, very splashy and prickling colors can sometimes trigger certain things in my mind. And, while I'm trying to read something online and on a particular page, you never know, the next moment I would be found shaking because, the color is so bright and such that it triggered some of the things in my brain, right? And that happens, I'm not kidding, right? So even balancing that, these are very little things that I think we don't often discuss, because the idea of digital accessibility, as we have also discussed previously, can be different for different people, right? For people with visual impairment, it could be as basic as providing a screen reader facility so that, you're able to navigate through the content. It could be also providing information in braille, right? It could also be something that has speech to text or, an audible format of that information. But for some people who want to access that, who are not persons with visual impairment, accessibility could mean something else. And I think that's my perspective here as a person with multiple sclerosis that I'm sharing. that all of this information while we are talking should be also convenient for everyone to understand, to access, to also gain something out of it. Because whatever we are doing on any digital platform, we don't do it just for the sake of doing. There's an intention behind everything that we do, right? Just as I mentioned that I'm doing research. So for me, it's equally important that whatever information I'm trying to fetch should be easy to understand, right? And somebody in the comment section very rightfully said the ability, right, to access anything, the very ability. And to be able to do something, I think these are some of the factors which are quite important. Again, identifiable, navigable, readable, understandable, right? So that we can locate the information easily and right.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you, Anjali. Thanks a lot for that insight. Yes, definitely we understand now about digital accessibility also. Along with the accessibility, yes, digital accessibility definitely is very important, not only because of the disability, but there are few instances where we will be talking about, we will be seeing that digital accessibility is very, very important for each and every one of us. So with that, I thank Anjali for that insight. Let's try to understand little more about accessibility. And in the next step, I would like to ask Kameshwari that what are some hindrances or misconceptions or misassumptions on digital accessibility according to you? Over to you, Kameshwari.
Thank you so much, Rotarian Pinky, for the opportunity to speak about the hindrances and some of the misconceptions or misassumptions which a lot of people have towards accessibility. So, the foremost hindrance or challenge I feel is the lack of awareness about what accessibility means and also the ways to achieve accessibility with minimal efforts. So, I would be talking about 5 points in brief, which highlight the challenges or the misconceptions seen in a wider world. So, the first one being that we all assume that accessibility is beneficial only for persons with disabilities. So it's a majorly known misconception, but I would like to highlight an example here. We did listen to Anjali speaking about content being available in multiple languages and also avoiding jargons and making sure that the content is presented in the simplest possible language, which can be absorbed by a layman without any difficulty. So this is just a very beautiful example to show that such steps taken by people will not only benefit a person with disability, but it will also benefit people at large. Another example is when you go, all of us use, Netflix or all these social media platforms, and we do watch a lot of movies. So while watching movies, uh, it is so easy to watch movies of different languages because we have the captions and the subtitles being provided there. Also, so many videos on YouTube. We can learn songs of different languages just because of the content being available in alternative ways. Okay, so these methods just do not benefit people with disabilities, but benefit a lot of people at large. The second misconception which people have or businesses have is providing accessible features or accessible content is expensive and costly. So this stems out of the fact that businesses or producers or product owners, they are not aware of the efforts, the minimal efforts which could be put to make sure that the content or the product is made accessible to people. So there are beautiful methods to make sure that you spend as little as possible and you can make sure that your product which comes out is inclusive and accessible to everybody. Just that you have to make sure that you take the right steps at the right time, which is the precisely the next point which I'm going to cover, which is the assumption that accessibility efforts have to be taken towards the end of the product life cycle. So once the product is completed and ready to be marketed, to be put on the market, that is when people realize that, okay, yeah, we have to run an accessibility check, which is perfectly the wrong thing to do at the wrong time. And in our accessibility advocacy, we always try to make sure that people start working on creating an accessible product from the inception stage, which is the design stage itself, or even before that, when you start thinking about the proposal of putting forward a product itself. Another assumption is, which is very common, that we always have to, create an alternative method, or we always have to make sure that there is an alternative product specially designed for people with disabilities. This is completely a wrong assumption, because if the right steps are taken at the right time, the product which is open up, or which is provided to the mainstream, that could be made pretty much accessible for the people with disabilities as well. So beautiful examples of these are the smartphones we have today, the iPhones and the Android phones, which have inbuilt accessibility features, which cater to the needs of people with disabilities and without as well. So, such as the inbuilt screen readers, the color inversion, where you could choose the contrast of background and foreground colors, increasing the font of the content so that you could read it much better. So these are already inbuilt into the smartphones, and as well as the computers we have now. Um, Last but not the least, the assumption that an accessible product, to make it more accessible, it would look more ugly, and we have to do away with all the beautification, which is also wrong, because just because the product needs to be made more accessible, we do not have to do away with the beautification and using beautiful colors and wonderful, designs. If the right efforts, the right steps are taken by the developers or the product owners, the accessibility features can be inbuilt in such a way that they do not pose a threat to the beautification of the final product. So these are some of the hindrances and the misconceptions which are prevalent in the world at large, which hinder the progress of creating an accessible product to one and all. It is mainly an effort to create an awareness of what accessibility really is for everybody, and also the ways to achieve it without giving up on the final the beauty or the productivity of the final product. Thank you, Pinky.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kameshwari. Really true. It can really, it is easy to understand, right, after Kameshwari's inputs there, that whatever you build from the scratch. When you build from the scratch, just keep the accessibility in mind, right? So she just mentioned the design at the design stage itself. Be it anything, we are not talking about any particular design, right? It can be, mostly we are talking about digital designs, where you, for an example, where Kameshwari mentioned about the design of any web page, it can be, or design of any product, it can be. When it comes to physical accessibility, if you are designing a mobile phone, you can just think about the size of the design, how big it should be, how small it should be, how it should look. Everything you have to think from the scratch. So that really helps everyone, and you need not to put more efforts if you start from the beginning thinking about accessibility. That's the whole idea here. So thank you very much, Kameshwari, for that wonderful insight. This brings us to the next question, which is very, very relevant here. I would like to definitely know, what can businesses do to make their products accessible now when we talk about accessibility? So I would like to ask Justin this question, that what can businesses do to make their products accessible? Over to you, Justin.
Thank you, Pinky. Here we are talking about businesses, organizations who are out to make profit. But I would like organizations to make employment a part of their manifesto. Just the token amount by the government, 1% for the blind, 1% for the vision impaired, 1% for the hearing impaired, that will only make 5%. So the private sector organizations have a big role to play in accommodating employment potential and tapping that potential. Pope Francis, in one of his speeches, said, "Where there is no work, there is no dignity." So only through work will our disabled friends achieve the dignity that they are seeking.
Wonderful.
So we need to make employment a manifesto in their profit making as well. And all of you must have heard recently that India has surpassed China in population. What if you have all the training courses, but if you have no job, what good is that training going to help you? So which means that employment has to be the main focus of our businesses and their profit making. Secondly, we have the CSR. The government has mandated that a certain amount of the profit be given to social activities. I know there are so many problems in the world, environment and other social sectors are competing for the same amount. But again, the disabled people and their causes should also be favorably looked at, and they must make sure that a certain portion is earmarked to help the disabled. Only if we help them can they stand on their own. Thirdly, R&D is another place where businesses can spend money. As individuals, we can't do research, but businesses have that capacity. There is that downtime where they can spend on doing research and development and bringing cheap and affordable products that Nagaraj spoke about. And to fulfill the promise of no one left behind that Anjali made, definitely the businesses should commit themselves to contributing to the R&D aspect. Just 2 days ago, Apple came out with the virtual reality headset. That is one promising thing. And they have said that later on they will bring a lighter version. This one is way out of our budget, but they have made that commitment. So like that, other companies have to promise a certain amount of R&D funds so that we can live a richer life. And my final point is, all these businesses and organizations are part of a big tribe. The software companies have something called as NASCOM, National Association of Software Companies. So all these businesses have trade associations. So as a tribe, they can do a lot more in rallying support for the disabled. Everybody wants to make a positive difference, and businesses will feel proud about themselves if they contribute to the social upkeep of our society. And one way we can do that is by enriching the lives of our disabled friends. So GAD is just a reminder that there is still more to be achieved. And this is just another step in the journey. Thank you, Pinky.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Justin. Really well said. And I believe after this, the business owners will definitely think about their products and what is their contribution towards the research or the responsibilities towards the society and all those stuff. So yeah, you really said it well that without work, there is no dignity, right? So if one person has to live a dignified life, definitely we have to work and we should prove that yes, we are capable of doing something. For that, we need accessible products. So that's where the point ends, that without accessible products, it's very difficult for anyone to work for that matter, right? So if we take an example that the entire world, like the human community, we all know that we can walk, so we have built a ramp or steps to reach to one door to other, one floor to other. What if we change that design and just make the without stairs and without ramps? You just have to climb the poles and trees and reach to one floor to other floor. How will you reach that, right? So that will be said as, okay, it's not built accessible to me, but that is accessible to monkeys, right? So that's the as simple as that. So its accessibility is more about what we think and what we conclude that yes, this is accessible or this is not accessible, right? It's all in our mind. Okay, so with that, I would like to bring one common question to all the panelists, where I would like to understand, after all these insights and knowledge which we got from all of you, now we want to know from each one of you in 2 minutes that what are some of the ways or efforts one can make to ensure accessible environment around us in our day-to-day life. So I would request Anjali to go first and tell us on this topic for 2 minutes. Over to you, Anjali.
Sure, sure. Thank you for that wonderful question again. I don't know how much will I be able to do justice with this question, or sorry, this response, but I hope it does create some impact on our audience. You know, ever since I have started doing this fellowship on disability, I have learned quite a lot of things. And before that, I wasn't even aware that, even when you provide any sort of information on any social media platform for that matter, is it really accessible for people with visual impairment? So specific to that, when I learned certain things, I have started making some efforts, and a few of them are by providing video descriptions and image descriptions to all my posts. I make sure that whatever graphics or posters or any content for that matter that I'm preparing to share information with the audience, they have proper color contrast. The font size or the kind of font that I'm using on them are readable enough for the other people who use screen readers, or for that matter, any other software to read. I make sure that even the language is understandable for people. I try and avoid using jargons to my posts. As I said, I use optimum color contrast with readable fonts. Apart from that, when I make any video stories or any videos for that matter, I make sure that I'm adding subtitles to them. I use some other applications on my mobile phone that help me, design a particular video in a particular form, which is not too pricky to the eyes, but at the same time is also providing the context of what that video is. And finally, I make sure that if my information, which is quite important for the audience to know, is available in say one or more languages. I make sure that most of my posts, which are very extreme, very important to be understood by people, are bilingual in nature. So these are some of my efforts that I take to make sure that nobody is left behind. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, Anjali. Thank you very much for that effort. We really appreciate that. It will definitely help all the community. So I would like to hear from Arun on the same topic. Arun, over to you.
Thank you, Pinky, again. Yeah, you can hear me, I hope.
Yes, yes, we can hear you, Arun.
Thank you. Now, for me, like I said, accessibility is just not about the like what Anjali said. It's not just about making people understand or making people see what they cannot see, but it's also making the life easier for the person with disability. Now, just to give you an example, if you have a staircase to climb down on, and I have low vision, so I'm not able to judge the height of the staircase, of the steps. So now I do not know if I'm at the end of the steps when I'm going down. So I tend to fall down from the steps that I need to climb down. So if they can have a color code or color taping which is kept on the edge of the step, it makes it much more easier for me to climb down these steps. The second, one of the biggest things that most of us have, it's not just about any disabled, it is also for the older generation people who find it difficult to climb steps and climb down. If buildings can have railings so that people can hold on to the railing and climb the steps down, it makes life much more easier for each person who is using the staircase. Now it's to make it more simpler, it's saying that any obstacle in the way which is not making you uncomfortable is what accessibility means, that we need to make sure of. It could be it could be the road that we are walking on, or the floor that we are the bumps that are there on the road, and people using wheelchairs cannot use that road much more easily. Forget about wheelchair people, ladies who are or sorry, parents who are pushing their babies on a stroller. They find it difficult to use the road or the pavement today, because it is completely inaccessible. So that for me is a keynote that the government or the public in general should keep a note of when they're trying to make things accessible and things much more easier for the other person.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arun. Yes, thank you very much for your examples, which really makes us understand the things easily, right? When we hear about the challenges faced by the individuals, which really helps us understand things than going and researching and then coming and implementing things. It will really make things quicker when we hear live examples like you. Thank you very much for that. So I would like to hear from Justin on the same topic within 2 minutes. Over to you, Justin.
Yeah, thank you, Pinky. Arun's talk about roads and all just reminded me about the Bangalore railway station.
Yes.
They have put marble floors there. Of course, it is easy to roll the luggage on such a floor, but looking at it from a disability point of view, it is easily possible to trip and fall also.
Right.
And if it is raining, a wet floor, easily somebody can break their bones. So I urge our public authorities to take a second look at such places. And also, RBI has recently released something called as CBDC, Central Bank's digital currency. So we don't have information about that. And I hope that it is accessible to all the disabled. And paper currency also is one of my gripes. In UK, they have braille dots on the edges of braille currency, so one can feel. But here, to depend on a digital app to scan the note is a little difficult in public places. So
Right.
the government needs to look into that also. So these are just a few of the places that I highlight for your perusal. Thank you.
Sure, sure. Thank you very much, Justin. Right. You said it right that we definitely have to think about all these things because, as you said, it's not convenient for us to just check all the currencies, keeping it out long in hand and check the currencies. And it may fly, it may fall. There are chances, right? That is so much inconvenient for us, and they're almost whatever you said. Really, definitely, we have to think about it. Thank you very much for that. I request Kameshwari to tell her viewpoints on the same topic. Over to you, Kameshwari.
Yeah, thank you, Rotarian Pinky, for that. So the first thing which I would like to ask people to do is to consider using alternative methods of consuming information. So, for example, if you are watching a movie, so most of the times, if we are looking and seeing a movie or watching a movie, once or twice just for fun or just to experience a different way of looking into a video or a movie by just closing our eyes and maybe listening to the movie and try to understand what's going on. Also for computer users, which most of us are, try using a keyboard instead of a mouse, maybe for an hour or two. And I'm sure you would definitely find challenges in completing your tasks. The second thing I would highlight is this is mainly for people who are product owners, who are educationists, and who are writers or authors, and who publish a lot of books. So try considering, or I should not say try, but consider publishing your books in soft copies as well, along with the hard copies, make them available to the public. And as Anjali in her conversation has highlighted, the constraints of scanned copies, which is not accessible. So it has to be a proper text available on with it's called EPUB. That's the format which is globally accessible as for publications. But this can be also for notes, educational notes, or textbooks, and a lot of other digital content which is made available to public. The third one being this is also very much doable in our day-to-day life. So most of us use words such as this, that, here, there. These are the abstract words we use very easily. So in case you're creating videos or audio content, or as basic as being in a conversation as well, try using precise words, specific words. So this is a problem which I have always encountered when I try to access videos on YouTube. So most of the times it said access this, or do exercise in this way, or sit like this, or stand like that. So these are things which are pretty much not accessible, and we have to depend on others to describe these movies or these clips to us. The fourth and the most important point which I would like to highlight is mainly for the product owners or people coming up with content or different kinds of products. Please involve the end users, the target users, in the development process so that you could have insights into how your products would be used by them and what other different challenges or hindrances they might face while using your app, instead of assuming that everybody would be able to use your product the way you use. So that would actually help you to identify these challenges at an early stage and also deal with them at in a more cost-effective way. So I think most of these, all the 4 points are doable very much. And if we take a little effort, we could make the world around us much more accessible, much more livable, and more inclusive as well. Thank you,
Yes.
Pinky.
Thank you
Okay.
very much, Kamesh.
Pinky, I actually had one question out of curiosity to ask.
Yes.
Because I'm learning, and brilliantly said Kameshwari and Justin, you just kind of opened our eyes up. No pun intended, no offense, please. So one question I wanted to know, Kameshwari, I mean, when meetings like these are conducted, for instance, now we are doing this discussion over Zoom, and I have realized that you are using screen readers and that your phone tells you what's happening and then you read stuff. So, do you kind of also get the prompt when there are any messages being typed in the chat box when any person leaves the meeting, enters the meeting? Is that something that also kind of is prompted while you are into the discussion?
Yes, Anjali, to answer your question, the screen reader is able to pick up the dynamic updates which happens on the screen, which includes people joining in, people leaving, and of course, it also reads out funny IDs if people have not, added their names to their
Right.
profiles. Also, it does read out the chat messages, and that's how I caught the message which Dr. Gopi had sent and just replied back to him.
So then,
Yes.
is it not really disturbing sometimes, Kameshwari, that, while you're talking, these things are, prompting you, and maybe just out of curiosity, because that is also going to be one of my practices going forward, if that's so that I'm not, hindering the flow of the conversation or discussion.
Yes, yes. So, Anjali, definitely that's a valid question. But yes, it is annoying sometimes, it is disturbing, but that is very much important to know what's happening, right? So that is needed also. So it's okay. So we can adjust with few things when it is too much annoying or too much noisy, but that is needed. We
Thank you.
have to deal with that. Yeah.
Another viewpoint is, as Pinky said, it's sometimes annoying. So usually these settings should be toggle settings so that in case a person doesn't want such interruptions, he's not interested in, knowing as to what is happening on the screen or what is happening in the meeting. So he or she can turn off such notifications. So it should be such a feature available, which in some cases is available, but most
Yes.
of the times it's not.
Right. So thanks for those questions, Anjali, out of curiosity, and definitely it brings us to the Q&A session now, which already Anjali started with. So let's move to the Q&A session section now. If there is any question from the audience, we will take for 5 minutes, and we'll answer those questions for you, and then we can go towards the closure. So is there any question for our panelists? You can unmute and feel free to ask your question.
This is Mohan Ramnathan. Can you
Yes,
hear
sir.
me?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. So it's an excellent session. I know all the panelists made fantastic points. One question I have is, do you have a forum? Because you gave so many good suggestions. Where is it collected? A person like me wouldn't know that, like what Kameshwari told, about the one toggle switch. I wouldn't know unless she had articulated it like what she did. So is there a forum where people can actually give your suggestions? So anybody who is developing a product software can look at it and find out, okay, these are all the things that people want. Is there any place like that? Question one. Question two is a suggestion. If it is not there, maybe Ability's website should have a blog and you should start collecting this. And in course of time, in year, 6 months, 5 years, you will have a repository of fantastic knowledge on this.
Wonderful suggestion, sir. So I would request any of the panelists to take this question for sir. Who would like to answer this?
I could take the first question, which is about the forum. So we have different forums available, and I think the other panelists can also add their thoughts about it. So there are different forums, public forums available where but it's mostly relevant to the specific type of disability or people who are really working in the accessibility field as such. So they discuss about the upcoming issues, or maybe they would have come across a product where such a challenge or an issue is being faced, and they come up with challenges, I mean those challenges, and they also reach out to the concerned people to get those challenges addressed. So these are specific to, as I said, disabilities, or for professionals who are involved in the accessibility field as such.
Right.
But
So
I am, as of now, not aware of a common platform which is available for the world at large to come forward and discuss accessibility as a topic or as a whole.
yes.
Actually, I want to add something here. I'm not sure how relevant will it be, but I think for the larger audience who work in the field of advocacy, they must be aware that there is a particular segment called accessibility and harmonized guidelines for ICT products, which are also compliant with the UNCRPD, which is the United Nations Convention for Persons with Disabilities. And because India has ratified UNCRPD, we have got our own act, which is the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act. So under that, it is, there are certain mandates and criteria that the businesses have to follow in order to make their products and services accessible, which is available online on the platform. If required, I can also paste that link in this chat box. Thank you.
Sure, Anjali, that was really relevant to the question, I guess. And please do share the link there so that we can access to that. Yeah, thank you very much.
Sorry to be disturbing, Pinky. Just thank you so much, Mohan sir, for the suggestion that you have also given. That we could probably start a blog in the Rotary Bangalore Abilities website, which collects all the suggestions and which help making life easier, making life more accessible. And like you said, probably at the end of 1 year or 2 years, you will probably have a whole lot of repository of suggestions that can help organizations or NGOs which are dealing with disabled people or helping out the disability segment.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Arun. Yes, definitely. That was a good suggestion, sir. We'll definitely start working on that. Thank you very much. And I hope our panelists have answered your question. Okay. Yeah, thank you, sir. Any other question we have from the audience?
You can either raise your hand or unmute and speak.
Yes. So if no more questions, we'll move towards the closure. Any questions? We'd be happy to answer that. Okay, I take it as no. And thank you very much, everyone, for your patience. And what I can conclude with all these conversations is, first thing is, we have understood about accessibility now, what exactly accessibility means to each one of us, and the different types of accessibility where digital accessibility comes to picture. And when we talk about the myths and conceptions, I would like to give one real-time example of just today's scenario. When I visited the IT department in my organization, there I was talking to a I was talking to an engineer about my issue with laptop. So for half an hour we had conversation about that because I was alone at that time to give information to the person. But later when I am done with everything, I called my colleague to escort me to my workstation. But that moment, immediately the engineer had called, had spoke directly pointed out the colleague with me and asking what is my name to my colleague, like what's her name, what is her ID, what is her ID number. So everything is being asked to my colleague than rather asking me because see, I was having conversation with her for half an hour, but directly she started asking to that person what is her name, where is she working, which team she is from. So this is also one of the assumptions, right? That they feel okay, we are not enough capable of understanding their questions, or maybe will be struggling to answer their questions. I don't know what is her assumption or his assumption, but this is one of the scenarios we always face. People don't put that effort to talk to the person with disability directly because of some kind of hesitation or lack of awareness. So I would request anyone and everyone here to spread the word across and try to understand everyone. It's not about only people with disability, but each one of us are different. Everybody wants to be addressed. Everybody wants them to be called or spoken in certain ways, right? So that same applies to people with disability. So just don't assume things, just be open for conversations and understand each other. That is one thing, one example I wanted to quote here. And with the point which all of our panelists made, what one can do to make the difference, to bring the difference in this world and in our day-to-day life. There are so many things which we can do, starting from our simple day-to-day life. When we do something in our own homes, it's not about only person with disability. You can think about the women at home, you can think about the men at home, kid at home. So you have to think about their safety, their ease and their comfort, right? So that is accessibility, as simple as that. Everybody's safety, comfort and ease, that in simple form is accessibility according to me. So let's try to bring that change from now onwards. And if we are already doing that, I really appreciate that. Please continue to do the same, and always try to reach out to us if there is any question you have in your mind, or in any ways we can help as a Rotary Bangalore Abilities team. So with that, I would like to pass it on to Chandana, our club secretary, for vote of thanks. Over to you, Chandana.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, Chandana.
Yeah. So hi, everybody. A very good evening to all of you. And we had a wonderful, wonderful session on understanding accessibility. So I would like to firstly say a very, very big hearty thanks to all our panelists, Ms. Anjali ma'am, Arun, Justin sir, and Kameshwari. Thank you so much for this wonderful panel discussion. Really, it was a learning for me as well. So thanks a lot once again for all of these things. And I would like to extend a hearty thanks to Nagraj sir for briefing us about Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to say a hearty thanks to our moderator, Pinky Gupta. Thank you so much. You wonderfully did it. So awesome. It was wonderful listening to your inputs as well as all the panelists' inputs. Thank you so much. I would like to extend a hearty thanks to all our Rotarians who are here, friends and family members. Thank you so much for all of you who have participated in this panel discussion. And the more awareness we spread, it is more knowledge to all of us. So thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yes,
And I
thank
would
you
like
very
to
much.
thank Chandana for,
And
this
yes,
beautiful
one more
vote of
thing.
thanks.
And one more thing, I would like to thank the entire RBA team and the planning team for this event. seriously, we took like 2 weeks time to plan this entire event, and it came out so well. So thank you so much to the entire planning team, and thank you so much, Anjali ma'am, for that wonderful poster. Thanks a lot. Thank you
Yes,
so
My
much.
pleasure.
thank you very much, Chandana. Yeah, so we really, everybody deserves a big round of applause. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. And I would like to request Kranti to adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
Turn off the recording, Chandana.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chandana. I adjourn the meeting.
Yes.